Hello class, I will be discussing the incorporation of private prison ideals to publicly operated prisons. Today, most prisons are operated by public institutions and the government. However, there are private prisons which are contracted to the government. We will be looking at the similarities between public and private prison concepts, differences between public and private prison concepts, and the essential characteristics of government as it pertains to prisons. In order to see what private prison concepts can be adopted to the public sector, we need to see what these two agencies already have in common. We know that they both utilize POSCORP, planning, organizing, staffing, etc., as dictated by Gulick, especially when it comes to selection and training. We know that they both utilize bureaucracy under Weber's model with hierarchy. You have supervisors, you have general staff, there's division of labor, specialization, and set rules that keep the prisons going. And we also know that, though it might be at a different extent, they both must deal with the public and the media relations. More importantly, we must look at what differentiates the public sector prisons to private sector prisons. On the public side, the main goal is the rehabilitation and security of the inmates, whereas on the private side, as shown by Allison, private sector prisons are more worried about profit and revenue collection. They still serve the same purpose and function as a public sector prison, but at the end of the day, private sector prisons are motivated by financial means. In the public sector, there is more public accountability and greater scrutiny, as mentioned by Appleby. However, on the private sector, there is limited transparency and it is not subject to the same regulations as we have on the public side. Public sector prisons are funded by taxes and government budgets, leading to financial scrutiny, as well as the employees on the public sector are subject to civil service laws. However, if you look at the private sector, the employees on the private sector are hired at the discretion of the company, and they have greater latitude in the hiring process, including promotions and as well as dealing with retirement systems. Lastly, we will look at the essential characteristics of government as it pertains to public sector prisons. As stated in the previous slide, Appleby showed us that public sector and private sector were motivated by two different ideals. Private sector was motivated by profit, whereas the public sector, their sole interest was the public interest. So regrettably, no industry can achieve its own social aspirations because their main focus for the private sector is profit. Government is also differentiated with breadth of scope, political character, accountability, and impact. People that work within the public sector must maintain public service attitudes and implement action based on those public service attitudes. Therefore, this is what separates the public sector as well from the private sector and gives the public sector its own unique set of characteristics. Please see my references for more information. Thank you for reviewing my presentation.